In the previous issue, we discussed the German Armored Division during different stages of World War II. Today, let's focus on the German Heavy Armored Battalion during the later stages of the war. As mentioned earlier, in the German Armored Division, the Armored Regiment is the main force while the Mechanized or Motorized Infantry Regiment serves as auxiliary support for high-intensity operations. So why is there a Heavy Armored Battalion? In fact, this is directly related to his opponent's gear and tanks. Although tank levels of Germany's rivals, such as Britain and France, surpassed Germany's at that time, there was overall parity and no generational difference. On the contrary, Germany had better tank skills and tactics than Britain and France during that time, allowing them to engage in continuous back-and-forth battles. However, when the German army attacked the Soviet Union, it discovered that the new Soviet tanks, T-34 and Chloe, actually surpassed all German tanks by one level, creating a generational gap. The Soviet army's tank use is superior to Britain and France's. Germany is one generation behind in hardware and has made little progress in software, resulting in their passiveness for a while. Facing new large-scale Soviet tank attacks, Germans rely on various anti-war guns and assault guns for defense, but tanks are ineffective against them. So the Germans accelerated their research on new tanks. Everyone knows the later arrival of Tiger and Leopard tanks. With this new tank, it can easily crush the Soviet T-34 and Kovo tanks. How to maximize the Tiger tank's effectiveness? At that time, German high-ranking officials had two plans. One was to disperse the limited Tiger type into various units as per the original establishment, replacing the medium tanks, converting the light tanks into auxiliary armor. Another plan is to centrally use it to attack key Soviet areas and hunt large enemy armored legions. Hence, the German Independent Heavy Armor Detachment, known as the Heavy Armor Battalion, was specifically created for Tiger tanks. At formation, this armored battalion consisted of 2 tank companies, each with 4 tank platoons, and each platoon had 2 Tiger tanks. The company has a total of 8 Tigers and 8 No. 3 tanks, including 2 No. 3 tanks. Furthermore, each company is equipped with 1 Tiger and the battalion headquarters is under the jurisdiction of 2 Tiger tanks. Therefore, there are a total of 20 Tiger tanks and 16 No. 3 tanks in Quanien, making it a total of 36 tanks. In 1943, the Tiger tank output increased and the Heavy Armored Battalion expanded. A 3rd tank company was added, but each company reduced by 1 tank platoon. There were now 3 tank platoons, each equipped with 4 Tiger tanks. The battalion headquarters had 2 Tiger tanks, bringing the total number of the company to 14. The total number of the 3 companies is 42 tanks, and with the addition of the 3 tanks from the battalion headquarters, the total number of Tiger tanks in the Heavy Armored Battalion has reached 45. Tank number 3, originally used for filling, has been cancelled. During the changes, the Heavy Armored Battalion commanders insisted on keeping the No. 3 tanks, as they were capable of tasks the Tiger tanks were not suitable for. However, this request wasn't accepted. Instead, the Heavily Armored Battalion was equipped with SDKFZ 250 semi-tracked armored vehicles for execution. Tasks like reconnaissance, communication, and alert are difficult for Tiger tanks to perform. In addition to the tank company, the Armored Battalion originally had a maintenance card. The battalion company consists of the General Staff, Communication Unit, Reconnaissance Platoon, Engineering Platoon, Air Defense Platoon, Medical Unit, and Supply Unit. The maintenance company includes various logistics maintenance units. The Tiger tank, a powerful weapon, can conquer 10 enemies one by one, but faces numerous problems and often reduces its non-combat staff. Therefore, the establishment of the maintenance company is also very large. There are 3 maintenance cards and 1 emergency repair card in the Maintenance Association, with the 1st and 2nd rows responsible for maintaining tracked vehicles, specifically serving the Tiger-style Uncle. The 3rd platoon is responsible for wheeled vehicle maintenance, and the emergency repair platoon is responsible for battlefield emergencies. Each tank company is equipped with support units, including the health team, maintenance team, and transportation team of the Joint Department, as well as 22 wheeled vehicles for personnel and material transportation. Except for 45 Tiger tanks, there are also numerous wheeled or tracked vehicles in the entire battalion. A total of 278 vehicles were used to support Tiger tank operations, and this formation was used until the war ended. Germany had a total of 12 independent armored battalions, named 501 to 502, and the SS Divisions 101004. They were no longer suitable for centralized formation and served as armored assault forces directly commanded by the Army or Corps, boosting offensive and defensive capabilities, and used for defensive counterattacks or filling defense line gaps with fierce power. Actually, some units also had armored battalions. The Grossdeutschland Division had one, but it was a divisional unit and not part of the independent armored battalion. The 503rd Armored Battalion, the most famous among these armored battalions, was the elite of the German army and was involved in hellish battles after its formation. In May 1943, immediately after its formation, the unit began fighting in the Soviet-German War. In this brutal battle, the 503rd Armored Battalion faced a frontal assault by 300 Soviet tanks of the 63rd Army. In just 2 days, the battalion destroyed nearly 100 enemy tanks, while only losing 1 Tiger tank itself, and 7 Tiger tanks were damaged. The 503rd Armored Battalion's achievements quickly made them famous and terrified the Soviets. The 503rd Armored Battalion fought on the Eastern Front until spring 1944, losing almost all their heavy tanks due to lack of resupply and forcing them to return to the Western Front for repairs. In June of the same year, the Allies launched the Normandy landing. The 503rd Armored Battalion, the only armored battalion stationed on the Western Front at that time, was still being repaired. After replenishing Tiger tanks, the 503rd Armored Battalion deployed to the front line. However, the 503rd Battalion of German Army suffered another devastating blow in Normandy counterattack. Except for 2 Tiger tanks, all other vehicles were destroyed or abandoned. By the end of July 1944, the 503rd Battalion temporarily restored its full strength with 45 heavy tanks. After making a full recovery, the 503rd Battalion, previously known as the Supreme Headquarters Armored Battalion, was redeployed to Hungary to return to the Eastern Front in January 1945. The Germans' Ace Tank Battalion had its final battle in Hungary. Germany announced surrender on May 2, 1945, and ordered all German troops to cease resistance. On May 10, the 503rd Armored Battalion formally surrendered to the U.S. forces. In its 36-month lifespan, the 503rd Armored Battalion fought for 27 months, with the best record of all armored units, undoubtedly. The battalion destroyed over 1,700 tanks and at least 2,000 anti-tank guns, with its own losses only amounting to 252 tanks. The loss ratio is consistently maintained over 110.